Good morning, students. This is Shanghita ma'am, and welcome back to my English literature class. Today, we will start reading a new chapter from The Diary of Anne Frank. But before that, let me give you the background of the diary. Anne Frank was a Jewish girl who became famous for the diary that she wrote during the Second World War, which started in 1939 and ended in 1945. Anne was probably the best known of the Holocaust victims. So what is Holocaust? Holocaust is the systematic mass killing of European Jews in Nazi concentration camps during World War II. Jews are the members of the religious group. Anne Frank was born in the German city of Frankfurt in the year 1929. She had a sister named Margaret, who was 3 years older than her. Things were going badly in Germany then. Unemployment was high and many people were extremely poor. At the same time, Adolf Hitler and his Nazi party were gaining supporters by promising to solve the country's problems. The Nazis hated the Jews and blamed them for all the problems. When the Nazis came to power in 1933, hostility to the Jews increased. Anne's parents, Otto and Edith Frank, decided to escape to Netherlands. They settled in Amsterdam and soon felt at home. She attended Amsterdam's 6th Montessori school where she learned Dutch. She was a bright and inquisitive student who made many friends of various background and faith. 6 years later, in 1939, the Second World War broke out across Europe, and in the same year, Nazi Germany invaded Poland. And in 1940, the German army occupied Netherlands. The Nazi occupiers made life increasingly difficult for the Jews. Jews had to wear a Jewish star. They had to follow strict rules. They were not allowed to ride bicycles or ride in the cars or trams. Jews must attend Jewish schools and so on and so forth. On 5th July 1942, after Margaret, Anne's sister, was ordered to report for a so-called labor camp, the Frank family went into hiding behind Otto Frank's business doors. It was a hiding place in the rear annex of his firm. In her diary, Anne described the secret annex with several small rooms and narrow halls. They were joined later by the Van Pels family and Fritz Pfeiffer. The 8 people in hiding were helped by the royal staffs of Otto Frank. For 2 years, they lived in their secret hiding place. Meanwhile, the Nazis had lightened their grip, organizing raids and arresting and sending Jews to the so-called labor camps, or you may call them concentration camps. In reality, they were death camps, or they are called concentration camps, where only Jews were kept and murdered very brutally. More than 1,000 concentration camps were established during the history of Nazi Germany, and around 1.65 million people were registered prisoners in the camps at one point. Around 1 million died during their imprisonment. Many of the former camps had been turned into museums commemorating the victims of the Nazi regime. Anne was a lively, talented girl who expressed her observations, her feelings, self-reflections, fears, hopes, dreams in her diary. On June 12, 1942, Anne's 13th birthday, Otto Frank gave her a red and white checked notebook that she had previously picked out at a local shop and decided to use it as a diary. Her first writing in the diary was, "I hope I'll be able to confide everything to you, as I have never been able to confide in anyone, and I hope you will be a great source of comfort and support to me." In her diary, Anne wrote about living in the hiding place, the war and her thoughts and her feelings. An appeal by the Dutch government in London inspired Anne to rework her diary entries into a book. But before she had finished, her finding place was discovered, and all 8 members were captured on 4th of August 1944. Anne's last diary entry was made on 1st of August 1944. They were deported to the concentration and the death camps of Auschwitz and Birkenau. After that, they were sent to Bergen-Belsen, which was a famous concentration camp at that time. It was overcrowded and people were full of infectious diseases. 2 of the helpers found Anne's diary and kept them safely in case Anne ever came back. In February 1945, Anne and Margot died of typhus in appalling conditions in the concentration camps of Bergen-Belsen. Anne was just 15 at that time. Of the 8 people, only Anne's father, Otto Frank, survived the war. When he read Anne's diary after the war, it made a deep impression. He understood how much writing meant to her and hoped to publish her book one day. So he carried out her wish. Convinced that it was a unique record, Otto Frank took action and published it under the name The Diary of a Young Girl. Anne's story about life in hiding and the war was read all over the world. It had been translated into 70 languages. Her hiding place is now a museum and it welcomes more than 1,000,000 visitors a year. Anne's description of the time in hiding in the secret annex, her power of observation and self-reflection, her fears, hopes, and dreams still make a deep impression on readers the worldwide. She was positive and she tried to see the good in things. But her experience was a painful reflection of what so many people experienced at that time. So that was one of the reasons that after all these years, Anne's diary still has contemporary relevance. It still continues to inspire thousands of people all over the world.